Every 25th March, exactly 9 months before Christmas, the church celebrates the Annunciation of the Lord. On this day, the angel comes to Mary and announces the good news that she's going to be Mother of God by bearing Jesus, the Son of God, in her womb. Something that is confusing for her. It is something that she cannot easily accept, because first she needs to understand a bit about it. What is this about? What does it mean? After a bit of catechesis, or undergoing a bit of catechesis, Mary finally accepts the will of God. She says, "I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done unto me according to your word." When we celebrate the Annunciation of the Lord, there are two things that the church wants us to learn, especially about the life of Mary. The first thing is the lowliness of Mary. In other words, the humility of Mary. The second thing is the acceptance of the will of God, even when you don't understand it fully. I'm sure God could have picked on a woman that was already well known in the community to be Mother of God. He would have wanted to go to a family, or would have wanted Jesus to be born out of a family that is already known, a family maybe that is already powerful. But God makes a decision to go to a lowly woman. In fact, a small girl, because she's just a small girl who doesn't understand much about life. And yet, God decides to give her this huge responsibility. Maybe no wonder she doesn't understand really what is going to happen to her. She asks a lot of questions. Your lowly background does not really count when God wants to do great things for humanity through you. But when God wants to do something for somebody and He wants to use you as an instrument, He's not going to look at how many qualifications, or is it academic qualifications, do you have? How many achievements have you scored in your life? What kind of influence do you have in the community? All those things are immaterial. God is going to use anybody, provided that person gives themselves totally to His will and say, "Let it be done to me according to your word." Sometimes we want to think that God can only work through the people that already have a name out there. But God doesn't work like that. Anybody is a candidate. Anybody is a tool that God can use in order to reach out to many others. And this brings us to the second part that the church wants us to reflect on today: accepting the will of God. Sometimes many people want to disqualify themselves. I'm just coming from this particular compound. Jikala kwa kalingalinga. Mbana nabekala kwa kalingalinga mu. Yo mwankala pasukoro. Jikala kwa kanyama. If we photo of Mokuchamboli, what good can come out of Chamboli? Yeah. You want to disqualify yourself because you come from that place. Because you have not seen the inside of a classroom. Because you have not been to university. You disqualify yourself. But God wants to use you with everything that you have. If you have a lowly background, that is what God wants to use to reach out to others. That is important, is for you to present yourself as a tool that He can use. The same way that Mary does. Mary says finally to the angel, "I am the handmaid of the Lord." In other words, I present myself as the handmaid, as the servant of the Lord, that God can use me with all my lowliness, with all my poverty and everything else that I have or that I don't have. I present myself as I am so that God can use me in order to reach out to the people out there. Even if you have those qualifications you don't have, God has seen something in you that can be useful to that community. The same community that has people with the PhDs, with the master's degrees, with everything else that they have. That same community. God wants to use you with your grade 6 certificate to lead those powerful people. And no one should say, "Who is this one? How can you elect this one? This one cannot be MP. This one cannot be a councillor. We wanted that one because that one has those connections with that one. Therefore, no, God has picked on this one. And this is the person through which he wants to reach out to those same people that have important purpose. But what do? We either disqualify ourselves or others disqualify us. Mary is a nobody. Mary does not, the community doesn't even know that much about her. There are powerful women that are already making a name in that community. Mary is just a teenager. She's still growing, still understanding what life is about. And yet, God decides to come to this same young Mary, small Mary, in order to do great things for humanity. Count yourself as that Mary that receives the message from God through an angel today, that in your smallness, in your littleness, I want to do great things for other people. And it is the yes that Mary pronounces that changes the story of humanity, so to say. You and I can be a conduit of God's grace. You and I can be a channel of God's goodness to others. But are we saying yes to that invitation? Or maybe we are still doubting. Or maybe we have even already said no. There is an opportunity for you and I to present ourselves as those instruments that God can use to bless others. Amen.